4 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few tight ends I have as sleepers this week. The first guy's Dalton Schultz of the Dallas Cowboys. So Schultz last season, he was a pretty solid fantasy tight end, especially in PPR leagues right before Dak Prescott went down in week 5 last season. But right here, Dalton Schultz, so far the first 2 out of 3 games, he's been a pretty good tight end for fantasy football. On his week 1 at the Tampa Bay Bucks, 6 catches, 45 yards. Week 2 with the Chargers, the Cowboys didn't throw the ball much in that one. Only 2 catches, 18 yards. And week 3 of Philly was his coming out party. 6 catches, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So right here, Schultz, he got added in 25% of fantasy leagues, but he's still available in 73% of fantasy leagues is Schultz. And right here in week 4, he's got a good matchup versus the Carolina Panthers in a ball game where I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring one once again. And the Cowboys, they're always in a lot of shootouts over the last few seasons, especially with their defense not really stopping many teams this year as well, giving up so far 31, 17, and 21 in the first 3 games. But anyway, Dalton Schultz is a Prescott favorite. Prescott likes to hit him on that bootleg rollout for those quick yards here. And I think, once again, Schultz could possibly find the end zone versus the Panthers. I don't think he's going to do what he did in week 3 with 26 fantasy points. But anywhere from 10 to 15 is definitely a possibility. The next tight end I like this week's Conklin of the Minnesota Vikings. So Irv Smith Jr., he's probably going to be out for the season or close to the whole season. And Conklin, he's been a pretty decent fill-in so far in the first 3 weeks of the season. Week 1 at Cincinnati, 4 catches, 41 yards. Week 2 at Arizona, 2 catches, 15 yards. And week 3 versus the Seattle Seahawks, 7 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. He's banged up with a little bit of an elbow injury, is Conklin. But right here, week 4, he's got a pretty decent matchup versus the Cleveland Browns. And right here in a good offense where all teams are going to be focused on Thielen Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, this guy's definitely a red zone threat for Kirk Cousins. Cousins, we know he likes to spread the football out to 6 or 7 guys per game. And Conklin, once again, versus Cleveland, I think could be a sneaky sleeper play and could have 30 or 40 yards and possibly find the end zone. And the third and final tight end I have as a sleeper this week's Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Freiermuth, last week, he found the end zone for the Steelers in that ball game. And right here, there was a lot of raving about him coming out of training camp. And Eric Ebron, he's been a non-factor so far in Pittsburgh. So week 1 at Buffalo, 1 catch, 24 yards. Week 2 versus the Raiders, he played a little more in that one. 4 catches, 36 yards. And week 3 versus the Bengals, like I mentioned, 3 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. And week 3 at the Green Bay Packers here. This is a ball game where the Steelers, they're going to have to throw a lot, in my opinion, to stay up with Aaron Rodgers in this offense. And the Packers do give up the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends. So Freiermuth, he could be a possibly touchdown guy in this one once again, and a sneaky sleeper tight end play. So that's a few tight ends I have as sleepers heading into week 4 of the fantasy football season.